brings us to our superintendent's report, and I will turn it over to Dr. Hefner.
Thank you, Mr. Gant. We have had many things to celebrate in the past few days, and I will just call your attention to a few of those before we go to our updates and reports. Earlier, a few weeks ago, the State School Improvement Council organization named the 19 honor roll SICs for our state for 2018, and today they pared that list down from 19 to 5, and I'm happy to report that our own Chapin Intermediate School is one of the 5 finalists for the SIC of the year, so we extend them our congratulations. Over the weekend, in case you missed it, and I don't know how you could have, the Irmo High School boys basketball team won the lower state 5A championship, and they will be playing for the state championship on Friday evening. I don't know how many victories this is for Coach Whipple, but it's way up there. And he is just simply an amazing coach, and their season started kind of rocky, so it's been especially sweet to see them make it back to the state finals in what is a very, very, very competitive basketball state. I missed it, but I know a lot of people who were able to make it. We had a group called the Young Americans who involved our students in grades 5 through 8 in a big performance at the center, the Irmo Center for the Arts. And it was, by all accounts, a huge success. Our kids loved it, and the Young Americans who came here loved us just as much as our kids loved them, and they have certainly committed that they will be coming back. But we want to give special thanks to our Educational Foundation because they provided the funding to make this happen, and many members of our foundation were responsible for providing housing for our guests for this multi-day event. So again, I'm always amazed at the level of support that we get from our community here, because many of our foundation members are people whose kids are long out of our school system, but they continue to be involved. And the last one I will mention right now is that our Chapin High School wrestlers, under the wise tutelage of Ken Wilson, another long-term, highly respected, highly successful coach, won their lower state 4A wrestling championship, I guess weekend before last. And on that team were 3 students who won, medaled in the state competition, one winning first place in his weight category, the other 2 winning third in their categories, and those students will be honored at a board meeting at an upcoming meeting. So many other good things going on. Those are just some of the ones that came to my mind that have happened in the past few days, and I wanted to share them with you. At this time, we'll go to Mr. Lynn Richardson, our Chief Finance and Operations Officer, who will present our monthly financial reports. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner. Members of the board, in your packet, Exhibit B, we have the financial statements for the month of January 2018. Also means we are 7 months through the school year, hard to believe. For the month of January, the district received $29,422,978. Year to date, $107,978,729. We expended in the month of January $15,142,598, and year to date we have spent $86,715,545. I have a whole lot of detailed information in this packet for you. If you've got any specific questions, rather than bore you to death with going through all that, I'll try to answer any questions that you may have. That concludes my...
All right, thank you, Mr. Richardson. And our up next update comes from Sarah Wheeler, who is our Director of Magnet Programs. She also happens to be President of the Magnet Schools of America organization. and she has certainly been involved with the expansion and promotion of magnet programs here in our district. And this evening, she will share some information with you about this year's response we've received to our magnet offerings.
I believe, if you don't mind, with your Fitbit, you might want to come back down in front, because we do have a PowerPoint, so no one can complain that you aren't getting your exercise. You're getting your steps.
And I think I'm going to stay right here.
Okay, there we go. So, again, our little annual magnet update. This is the definition of magnet schools, and we can take some credit out in Lex 5 to the fact that this is our new South Carolina state definition of magnet schools, which we've never had before. And we formed a committee. They actually created a position at the State Department for magnet schools. And one of our former site coordinators from Spring Hill was the one who filled that spot. So she formed a committee, and we've come up with a state definition of magnet schools. And I don't want to read to you, but if you are from a distance, just so you'll understand that whole big picture of magnets. Magnet school programs are public schools that offer a specialized curriculum not available elsewhere to produce graduates with world-class knowledge, skills, and life and career characteristics. Magnet schools programs are designed to attract students from diverse socioeconomic, ethnic, and racial backgrounds reflective of the district population. So that is our new state definition. And again, we are all thankful for our Dr. Hefner as he expanded our magnet and choice options through his Vision 2015 and 2020. The purpose of magnet schools gives opportunities to the community, options to the community, keeps all of our schools viable where we may have space available in some and overcrowding in others. We hope that we can attract students to all of our schools, allow students to explore their interests, aligns with the educational landscape of today, which does focus on giving communities choice in their students' education. The types of magnets. I put this up here just so when I show you the list of our magnets, you'll sort of get what the little initials stand for. They're whole school model, criteria-based model, and schools within a school model. Magnet marketing. We have 2 magnet fairs, and this year, what a turnout. We had our first one in November at Crossroads. 270 plus community members came. We had our second in January after we got back from the holiday break. Over 250 more families came out to the center to visit all of our displays. We have our magnet page on the district website. We have open houses. We had 13 open houses, 12 during the month of January, and then 1 was in November, which was Escalaris Academy. We have community events, and we have lots of media coverage. Interest in magnet schools. It's become part of the D5 culture, so it's very exciting. Interest is year-round, so it's not just during our application window. We get calls in the summer from people who have researched our district and they're looking to move, and they want to know what our magnet programs are about. Growing interest in magnet schools, and you would know that this year we had over 1,800 applications. And this year, the way our software worked, it reflected first and second choices. So we had over 1,800 applicants, and we had first and second 2,753 applicants for interest in our district. 85% were offered their first choice. And then, of course, others did. If they put a second choice, were offered that. Every magnet school had applicants, so there's interest across the board. The magnet schools that we have, Dutch Fork Academy of Environmental Sciences, and I was so proud, Mr. Gantz waving that he passed his test with flying colors. Seven Oaks Elementary Media Magnet. Irmo Middle School International Academic Magnet, and this coming year we'll expand Escalaris Academy and it will become I Am Escalaris. Irmo High School International School for the Arts. Also, the International Baccalaureate program is located at Irmo High School. Spring Hill High School Career Pathways Magnet. Dutch Fork High School STEM program. And that's where you can see our school within a school and criteria base. Escalaris Academy at Harbison West Elementary. Again, school within a school and criteria base. And then H.E. Corley Leadership Magnet. An exciting year for us, Discover 5 Magnets. These are our new programs with our recent $13.7 million grant. It's H.E. Corley Montessori Magnet, Leapart Elementary STEAM Magnet, Nursery Road Elementary Arts Magnet, International Baccalaureate Career-Related Program, which is a partnership and collaboration between Irmo High School IB and the Center for Advanced Technical Studies. And that concludes District 5, where every choice is a great choice. Any questions? I think I lost my mic, but I don't need it with my teacher voice.
Is the Montessori, is that those that we had the grant for, they were started this year, or are they for next year?
It's for, all of the programs officially begin next year. We were notified this is a planning year, putting everything in place, and then it all kicks off for next year.
Good, and so they've already, you probably have started filling them, or one of the, because
We
I
have
have parents call about the Montessori.
That's right. We have, our time frame was that we have our month of January. We have the first fair in November. The month of January is our open window for application. It opened on the 22nd. It closed on the 2nd. Then it was the 12th. They had a week to 10 days to accept or decline. Once that is completed, we then sent the rosters out to the schools. Yes. And there was a lot of interest in our new programs, so it's exciting. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Don't want us to stay out here.
Mike, were you using a power? I am not, no. I was about to sit down and come back.
So what we did plan on back in.
I know.
And members of the board, in light of what has occurred in Florida and the angst that it's created all around our country, I thought it would be very important that this evening we give you an update on school safety. And so I've asked Dr. Michael Harris, our Chief Planning Administrative Officer, who oversees many aspects of the district for us, including our safety security program, to give you an update on where we are with regard to safety and security here in Lexington, Richland 5. Dr. Harris.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner, members of the board. I wanted to, thanks for the opportunity to just kind of share some highlights and information related to the topic of school safety. And certainly no surprise at all that this topic is certainly a cause for concern for all of us. In fact, if we pay close attention to the media reports and things that we oftentimes see over by way of the media and newspapers, certainly may even cause for alarm. But in School District 5, we want to impress upon us that we're not at a point of cause for panic in School District 5, but rather for prevention efforts and a swift and methodical action toward addressing the issues that we're confronted with. And we would allow our cooler heads to prevail, knowing that we'll continue to act most aggressively and out of an abundance of caution in addressing any and all of the issues that threaten our schools. Our top priority continues to be that daily we provide a very safe and nurturing environment for both our students and our staff, whereby we ensure that on a regular and daily basis that teaching and learning are taking place in all of our schools. So with that in mind, I want to offer 3 points of emphasis that will highlight where we are and what we're doing and how we're doing some of as it relates to school safety in School District 5. 3 points of emphasis that I will touch on tonight will be updates regarding 2 recent cases that involve threats here in School District 5. I want to share a review of the relationships and partnerships as it relates to the resources that have been made available to us by way of law enforcement here in the district. And then also share with you a communication plan of action that we put into place, used to address and share with our students, our staff, our parents, and our community. The first point of emphasis updates in terms of recent cases in School District 5. We've heard just last week where there were 2 of our high schools were highlighted in the media in reference to threats that were made at both of those schools. There were lots of media attention, lots of law enforcement involvement, and understandably this was indeed in fact a cause for concern and alarm from all of us regarding the welfare of our students and staff in both of those schools in particular. However, we can be certain and assured as members of the board and the general public that any and every threat made toward our students, our staff, and our community is taken seriously. Regardless of the form in which it comes, be it a direct threat, be it a social media post, an anonymous threat, or even writing on the bathroom walls. Whatever the form, every case is taken seriously and acted upon. I want to highlight the first case of one of our students, high schools, and it was through the effective work of the administrative team, support of our school resource officers and our district safety officers here in District 5, SLED forensic handwriting specialists, and the technical assistance of operable cameras and other features that are found in our schools that the perpetrator has been identified, apprehended, and charged with disturbing schools, breach of peace, and malicious injury to real property. That perpetrator has also been recommended for expulsion, as it is written and recorded in our student behavior code here in the district. This high school, first high school, has resumed school as normal, and they remain increasingly vigilant in all of their efforts to ensure safety on the campus. And I want to offer a special thanks at this moment to Principal Ross and his administrative team for their diligence and their tenacity in working so collaboratively throughout that entire process and series of investigations. Our second school, high school, received an anonymous call that also threatened the school and the safety of the students and staff in that particular school. And in this case, every possible action continues to be taken to ensure the safety of all in that school, which includes the use of its 2 assigned school resource officers. Our district safety officer continue to rotate to be a part of that. Additional patrol by sheriff departments, deputies, the presence of what we call the CAT team, the community action team, who has specific and assigned and specialized deputies who have also assisted us throughout the process. While a perpetrator in this particular case has not been apprehended to date, very strong leads are currently in place in this particular case and this remains an open and ongoing investigation with local law enforcement. School has resumed as normal. However, additional security measures continue to be and will remain in place through the process in this particular high school, as well as the juxtaposed middle school throughout this entire investigation process. In both of these cases that I've highlighted, the two high schools have addressed very effectively the attendance-related matters to those students who chose to remain home during the days of the threats that were made. And the two high schools have further exceeded the requirements and the expectations as defined by the South Carolina Department of Education's comprehensive safety plan, as it is found in the Model Safe Schools Checklist, which is completed by schools across the state every year. And this is also can be found in what's called a required proviso 180-46. And here in this particular proviso, it specifically addresses active shooter, intruder alert like drills, and a host of other drills that are required throughout the proviso. From a district perspective, you may want to know that all of our schools have at least 16 different drills that they are to perform. This totals more than 360, quite frankly, specifically 368 drills across our entire school district. But in this case, these two schools, as well as others that I have already made contact with, have gone over and beyond as a result of the recent threats that have been made as of last week. The second point of emphasis that I want to share with you relates to a review of the relationships and partnerships, and as well as the resources with our law enforcement agencies. In regard to the recent incidents that have occurred in particular, I will share with you that the long-range, long-term relationships and partnerships with local law enforcement agencies could not be stronger. We are so very appreciative of the collaborative efforts of Lexington County Sheriff's Department, Richland County Sheriff's Department, Chapin Police Department, Columbia Police Department, Irmo Police Department, and the support of SLED, a state law enforcement division. Each one of them at various different times providing valuable resources, such as forensic handwriting specialists, as well as specific investigators to assist us throughout the process. They provided additional duties upon demand, as well as their professional insight into the issues that we were facing throughout our district. Not once was there ever a hesitation, a second thought, or any kind of second guessing or passing the buck in any one of these cases involving our schools by any one of the law enforcement agencies that we're connected with. I look forward to impending conversations during our upcoming, forthcoming Superintendent's Emergency Responders Advisory Council. And this is a very insightful, what I think a very insightful council that was initiated by our current sitting superintendent that provides a forum of dialogue with our local and state emergency responders. And it's through this forum that we've already established memorandums of agreements, as well as implemented a series of safety audits and safety assessments to help us continue to make improvements in our safety measures across the district. As a representative of District 5, I'm proud of the relationships and these partnerships with our law enforcement agencies. Now, while we're on that particular note, let me slow for just a moment and say that while the relationships and partnerships are good and they're working well, the cases have been turned over to law enforcement for investigation and are no longer under the auspices or guidance of the school district. I think it's important for the public to hear and understand as well. Once a case has been referred, being referred to local law enforcement, School District 5 does not have any jurisdiction over those cases. Therefore, we're very, very limited in many instances in what information we're able to share and discuss with the general public. Which leads us to my third point of emphasis, and that's a communication plan that's been used with students and staff, parents in our community. I will share with you that through the very effective and capable assistance and support and direction of our communications office, we've made deliberate attempts to keep our students, staff, and parents updated regarding new developments and changes that pertain to these cases, and which I've highlighted in the aforementioned cases. We have utilized phone messages, email messages, newsletter information, direct responses to telephone calls, to share what we know regarding either one of these cases that have threatened our schools. In both of the cases that occurred on last week in particular, responses to phone calls, emails that we received by parents and other community have been addressed as they came in, and we have addressed each and every one of them either through our schools and or through our district offices. Even on tonight, a letter to all of our district parents has been made available so that they may have some idea as to where we are regarding safety measures and updates regarding the recent issues that have occurred. As well, we will provide a flyer and infographic material to all of our schools that will be made available at the front desk so that parents can have something readily available that they might pick up to further explain and give information as to where we are regarding these cases. I am, as well as our communications office, as is appropriate, in contact with law enforcement on a very regular and routine basis. In many cases, it can be daily. And I will share with you that it's our every intent to share information with the general public, obviously keeping you apprised and abreast as to what is occurring as we learn it through our local law enforcement agencies. When it comes to communications, I will share this as well, action plans and other items that pertain to school safety. I want to put a plug in for our students who I would say are leading the way and making certain that their school, that they are taking safety seriously, and that they are making certain that they are part of the conversation and discussions in their own respective schools. There are two recent experiences I wanted to share with you very, very briefly. One we've heard about in terms of Young Americans, the national and international organization of a group of young people who come forward and they displayed their talents through song and dance, and certainly share with our students. But it was through Dr. Melton, I will share that shared with us that they came to her on the dress rehearsal, the night of the final dress rehearsal, and communicated how so pleased they were with all that had gone on. But more importantly than that, they indicated that they had never, in all of their travels, received information and insight as to what they're to do in the event that there was an emergency while they were here in our schools. They applauded us, applauded the students, they applauded the administration for making that kind of information available during their stay here in School District 5. In most cases, if anything, what they would experience is an opportunity to go into a room and to stay there until such time as somebody would call for them to come out. So I felt very, very good about the fact that our students in our schools are taking the lead in so many ways of sharing information and making certain that while we have visitors on our campuses, that they too are aware of what they would need to do in an emergency situation. And then the second experience came on the latter part of last week where I met with one of my board members, Mr. Haltwanger, and had an opportunity to meet with, sit down and converse with the student body president and vice president, Stephen and Emily over at Dutchwood High School. And there's where I learned and became aware of just how serious students are taking their own school. They are engaged, and I mean actively engaged, in the conversations and the commitments and the decisions that are being made to make certain that their school and all of those persons who are in their school are safe and secure while they're there. So I walked away knowing that our future in terms of it relates to our students is in really good hands. And I also share with you, if you ever want to know how well you're doing, or perhaps how well you're not doing, if you ever want to know if your plans are working, or if they're not working, then I just simply say ask a student, ask a teenager. And they will share with you, unfiltered, I might add in some cases, just how you measure up. And they will also hold you accountable for the decisions, which I like so much. They hold us accountable for the decision that we're making to secure and to ensure that safety is a top priority in their respective schools. I just say simply ask Principal Gary of Dutchwood High School, whom I appreciate, for setting the stage and creating an environment where students are free to respectfully express their own individual views without fear of reprisal. I've shared with you that both Principal Gary and Principal Ross, and I would say all of our principals, I see Principal Miller up there as well, should be applauded for creating the kinds of cultures in their schools where students know that they can thrive and they have access to their principals to explore their thoughts and their ideas. So in closing, I've attempted to try to give you updates on recent cases here in School District 5. I've tried to review with you the relationships and partnerships and give you an idea of some of the resources that have been made available to us in response to the recent threats in 2 schools in particular. And then I share with you the district's ongoing communication plan used for students, staff, parents, and community based on the information as it is provided to us by local law enforcement. So therefore, while we move swiftly to complete our district safety team, we recognize that we are not perfect. But we do acknowledge that there is even more we do recognize that even more we look forward to accomplishing even more so measures to ensure the safety throughout our district, of all students throughout our district. And I will conclude that it's my firm belief that our overall safety and the safety measures that we have in place and have employed in place here in School District 5 are appropriate in addressing the needs and addressing the concerns and quite frankly the alarm that we've heard about in recent days of all of our students and staff with all of our schools in District 5. That is an attempt to give you a highlight and an update. Certainly try to answer any questions that you might have.
Ms. Hammond.
How many intruder drills do we require in a year?
The State Department requires that we have at least a drill per year.
Just
The
one?
State Department does, right. We meet that, and then when I said we exceed that, we try to hold refresher courses throughout the course of the year as well. So it could vary, but for the most part, we know that we're having at least 2 or more, but we're looking at all of our schools. And that's our goal, to continue to make sure that we provide those refreshers as we're meeting the required one on an annual basis.
Right, and I think in lieu of what we've seen happen, I know in our district where I work, we're talking about doing more just simply because practice is what they need. And I would say to you, it's hitting home with me yesterday. We had one, not yesterday, but Friday, one unannounced where we'd say usually don't do because you're having it, But I was just going to suggest this with our district. We did it during a change of class. And with it so pertinent on the minds of kids of just what happened a week ago, and we're really supposed to not let the kids in. You shut your door, it's locked, and I just kept letting kids in that were there. So, I think that we decided as a school, and I would just like to know that we're doing this in our school, we should also practice those drills, maybe even unannounced to teachers. And I know that sounds scary, but after what happened, it really works well as a teacher with your kids so that nobody just knows we're going to have it, and then they really take it more serious. And you don't just have it, like when it's almost the end of the day so it doesn't disrupt class. We get very mundane with them, is what I'm trying to say. So I would like to just say, as a board member for our district, I'd like for our principals and teachers to look at that and maybe have some of those drills, especially the intruder drill. What would you do if you're the kid that's not in a room locked, and who's going to let you in, and where will you go?
Any other questions? Ms. Caldwell?
Now, I don't have a question, just a comment first of all, thanks to Dr. Harris and Dr. Gary for showing me around last Friday. Because I believe unless we protect our young people, our students, then there's no education. There's nobody to educate. So, and they were very, very thorough. We walked, just to let you know, we walked basically the entire campus. My concern was doors, access to doors and how you get in and out. And all the doors were appropriately locked. And matter of fact, as we were at the rear of the campus, I think a student was trying to enter, he must have been late, I think. And anyway, he was directed to go around to the front of the school. He could not get in where we were coming out. And the other thing that was that you might want to know is, I think is really good, and that is the The resource office is located next door, adjacent to the attendance office as you walk in the front of the campus, which and they have access or visibility to the parking lot area where you usually drive in. Also, mainly, the students he mentioned, the student body chairperson and vice president, Stephen and Emily were the name. Simply two amazingly smart and bright students. Their leadership qualities were quite evident, and in our conversation, I asked them how did they feel in terms of their safety, and they said they felt entirely safe at Dutch Fork High School, based on some of the things Dr. Harris has already mentioned, and that they had also expressed this to their fellow students as well, because they're the leaders of the students. Also, I asked them about the proposed walkout that has been publicized. And they said their plan is not to walk out, but to to ask for 17 minutes in honor of the 17 victims at Parkland School, Stoneman Douglas School, to use the 17 minutes to call their congressmen and representatives, as well as, in addition to registering to vote. And I think Dr. Harris mentioned about the honesty of young people are honest, okay? They're far more honest than we are, adults. And if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask them. I say they're brutally honest sometimes. So I think and I think they had already gotten some concessions from Spring Hill High School student body, and was also looking to hear from Chapin as well as Irma on this. And I think that's a remarkable way to use the time that they've come up with, because I asked them, are you planning on walking out? Because I was going to say, I'm with you if you want to walk out. But they came up with the idea of using the time in I think, a much wiser manner. But again, thank you for showing us around. And again, I think you said there's always room for improvement, and being vigilant at all times, because that has to be our number one priority, is the safety and security of our students. So thanks again for showing us around. Okay.
Question? Mr. White?
You'd indicated that there was one drill a year. Is that per school?
Yes, that's right. That's
So each school,
that particular drill, yes.
the intruder drill, and one of the comments you were making, and Ms. Hawthorne was making, made me think about some years ago we did a lot of tightening up of security and putting enclosures and denying, putting the concrete or the steel poles so the vehicles couldn't ride up on sidewalks, things like that. But is that sort of an ongoing process to continue to monitor, like access points and where people, the doors are remaining locked? And I mean, is that something that? And I guess the thing that sticks out in my mind is when y'all see stuff like what happened recently, is that sort of a time to go back and everybody sort of reassess their processes and what can we learn, what can we do better?
Absolutely, and as a matter of fact, I made mention of safety audits and assessments, and those are essentially walkthroughs and conversations with administrators about things that, just like that, whether it's access points and that sort of thing, where doors are locked, unlocked. Those things occur regularly and routinely. So yes, we've already begun to do that very thing. And in fact, as a result of last week's events, a number of our schools have already done that in and of themselves, in front of the support and the assistance that they would provide will be provided rather by safety officers. So yes, that's an ongoing event, that's an ongoing kind of activity. Whenever that might occur, we want to make note of that and try to address it as best we possibly can.
Mr. Cates.
I've always appreciated our focus on our physical security and appreciate the update and the outstanding work of our school resource officers, the safety department. And I also think it's incumbent upon us as a board, we're going to have to look at the bigger picture of our student safety and probably look at issues with mental and emotional health. Are we truly providing an environment that is safe in all regards? I think about the community forum where the opioid crisis was addressed, and I hope we're not looking at safety in a silo where we're just looking at one aspect of doors and cameras and drills. And again, that might take us some courage from the board and support of the community for us to provide those additional resources that truly get to creating those safe learning environments.
Dr. Harris, thank you for your presentation. I want to mention one or two things that hadn't been mentioned, but I mentioned earlier that we were all at the School Board Association conference about a week ago. And that Saturday morning, Superintendent Spearman spoke to the group, and she, of course, this was on everybody's mind, and it happened the Wednesday before, and unfortunately things are becoming way too common an occurrence in this country. But she did mention, I think that she mentioned the possibility of revisiting the once-a-year requirement in this type drill because of the terrible things that are happening. But I bet you'll hear that in this next conference you're talking about that you're headed to. But I do appreciate the fact that we're not restricted to that one drill. And then what comes to my mind is we have some turnover in our student body, the whole thing. So I hope and pray that we never have to address this anywhere, but unfortunately it seems to be part of this country and this school right now. But I have had a question from a parent in the district. Just want to know if our equipment that we have, just like our cameras that we use to monitor certain areas in our school hallways and so forth, because we all hear these stories about these schools that these events happen in. Are we fairly confident that all our equipment is either functioning or that we're get the priority of having those items fixed? And if we can help you as a board, that's all I'm offering there. But give me an idea of, I know we have cameras, I know we have doors that lock down, but any issues that we need to address from a financial standpoint?
Well, I can share with you that cameras and access to cameras and working cameras and so forth is always a topic of discussion, but I will certainly give a plug to our technology department for taking that by the horns and really addressing that and improving our camera access and availability and camera repairs and those sorts of things. They've done a great job of improving those efforts. That's something that's going to be ongoing. That's something we'll continue to review. That is something that our safety officers are directly in contact and in touch with technology to review and to look at as they rotate in and around the various schools. So that's an ongoing thing. I think we are much better today than we have been, and so we certainly feel good about that process.
Well, I would ask you on behalf of the board, if you hit an area that we're bogging down in and we need to put some resources behind, I know this board would want to know that, and I know this community would want that too. So please keep us. I mean, you're working in a world that's constantly changing. Everything is changing. Things are durable to a certain point that may not work or may break. So please keep us abreast of that. I know none of us ever want to make an excuse to a parent who's behind the technology curve or didn't have this piece. We need to address it at a certain point in the year. We're not in the budget.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Camp, I would just like to end up saying one thing that doesn't really cost any money except to be aware. I would love to think that we also stress, see something, say something, and we do a lot of talking with those teenagers who really know more, like you're saying, Mr. Hawthorne. They know what's happening sometimes before a teacher or principal, and we need to learn to make them feel welcome and safe with coming forward, whether it's to our guidance counselor, the principal, a teacher. But I think that is a talk I would like to see being done. And it probably is just with our smart principals, but I would really say that the kids, honest to goodness, you know, could predict things way before they're happening. And we've got to learn to listen to them without having some type of repercussion if they're wrong. You know, somehow we've got to teach our students it's safe to see something, say something, you know, so if it turns out it's nothing, fine, but it could be if we save one life. So I would really like to stress that with the conversations in our schools.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I will just share with you that our councils have been very busy in addressing students, and there have been several town hall meetings that have been implemented by our principals to provide that forum and that opening for students to have those conversations.
I have one last one I want to follow up with something Mr. Hallmark said. And I know we talk about our Chapin, Irmo, Dutchville, Spring Hill. And I know the students in a certain age are going to be very polished about this. I love the approach to make it something positive and taking 17 minutes of a positive approach. But I'd love if our administration can assist our other schools. I don't know who's playing, but even our elementary schools. None of us have forgotten the word St. Hill. That's an elementary school. There's something positive and a learning experience that those schools could do on that same time frame to send a message. I think it'd be supported by this board.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board, and I certainly want to take this time to thank the board for the support that you've shown through the years for safety and security. I remember shortly after I came here, maybe the first budget cycle, we asked for SROs for every single school. We'd have them in high school, but we didn't have them in elementary. And that was a difficult decision, and you had to raise your hands and had to go with the maximum millage to make that happen. It's the same year we did early childhood expansion, which I think was another very courageous and wonderful act. And again, I think the sooner we get students and get them into schools, I think that's a good thing. But you were courageous in bringing our SROs throughout the district. And then just this past year, you supported our expansion of our safety officers. So we have people to concentrate on specific areas and to help our teachers think about, all of our staff, think about what could happen and be very mindful of that and make sure that all of our drills are carried out appropriately. So you have, in my view, have been most courageous and heroic to make sure that we are doing what we need to do, and we know we need to continue to press on because the evil people out there are constantly trying to figuring new ways to complicate our lives. But I thank you so much for your leadership. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Hepburn. The next item is our public participation.